The Mets and free agent infielder Bo Bichette have agreed to a 3-year, $126 million deal.
The Tucker contract expedited this arrangement because the Mets had to do something, and they end up getting Bo Bichette.
Just 2 months ago, Bo Bichette launched a baseball 442 feet into the Toronto night sky, chasing Shohei Ohtani off the mound in Game 7 of the World Series. That moment was supposed to live forever in Blue Jays history, and it will. That blast was supposed to be the beginning of a championship dynasty in Canada. Instead, it became his final goodbye. Because less than 12 hours after Kyle Tucker chose the Dodgers over New York, Bo Bichette has signed a 3-year, $126 million contract with the New York Mets. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. The Phillies reportedly offered him 7 years and $200 million, and he said no. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that decision makes total sense. What this means for a Blue Jays franchise that just came 1 game away from winning it all, and why the Mets might have just pulled off the heist of the offseason. But before we get into it, guys, again, thank you so much on our road to 50,000 subscribers. As you know, if you have notifications turned on and you are subscribed, you're entered into a giveaway for an MLB official jersey. This upload's winner is at Jack Mallins 8573. Appreciate you, brother. Hit me out. Reach out to me and I'll get you that jersey. Everyone else, comment down below what jersey you like and make sure you are subscribed. Now, let's get into the video. All right, let's break down what Bo Bichette is actually getting here because this contract is genuinely fascinating. The deal is 3 years, $126 million with no deferrals, a full no trade clause, and opt-outs after both the first and second seasons. If he opts out, he gets an additional $5 million bonus. So let's do the math real quick. For just 1 year, Bichette would pocket $47 million. For 2 years, $89 million. That's an average annual value of $42 million per season, which puts him in an absolutely elite company. We're talking about a number that would have seemed impossible for a guy coming off a knee injury just a few months ago. Now, compare that to what the Phillies were offering. According to Bob Nightingale, the Phillies agreed to Bichette's requested terms of 7 years and $200 million. That's $28.5 million per year guaranteed through his age 34 season. More total money, more security, but you know what it didn't have? The opt-outs. Phillies ownership famously does not do opt-outs in their contracts, and that is exactly what cost them Bo Bichette. Think about what Bichette is really doing here. He's essentially telling the baseball world, I am so confident I'm gonna ball out in 2026 that I am willing to leave $74 million guaranteed on the table. That's the difference between the Phillies deal and his first year payout with the Mets. $74 million gone just like that, unless he proves he's worth even more. And you know what? This isn't some crazy, unprecedented gamble. I mean, we literally just watched Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso do the exact same thing from last season. They took shorter deals, bet on themselves, and cashed it. Bregman just signed a 5-year, $175 deal with the Cubs after opting out. So the Bichette camp is clearly following that playbook. Now, let's talk about what this means for the Blue Jays. Because, man, this one has got to hurt if you're a Toronto fan. I mean, Bo Bichette wasn't just another player in Toronto. He was the guy alongside Vladimir Guerrero Jr. These two came up through the system together. They were supposed to be the foundation of a dynasty. Vlad once said, I would love to finish my career playing alongside him. And Bichette repeatedly stated throughout his career that he wanted to stay in Toronto. Just hours after the signing, Guerrero spoke with Blue Jays reporter Hazel May, and his reaction was exactly what you'd expect. He said, of course, I feel sad after playing with him for so many years. But like I've always said, this is a business and you have to look out for what's best for you and your family. That honestly is a mature take, but you know deep down that Vladdy's a bit gutted. And here's what makes this even more painful for Toronto fans. The Blue Jays had a real chance to keep him. According to The Athletic, a reunion appeared increasingly unlikely all offseason, but there was a brief window after the Blue Jays lost out on Kyle Tucker where they could have pivoted back to Bichette. They just didn't move fast enough and the Mets swooped in. And let's not forget the context here. The Blue Jays just lost the World Series in 11 innings in Game 7. They were this close. Bichette hit that monstrous homer off of Ohtani. They had a lead, and then the bullpen couldn't hold it. Now, less than 3 months later, the guy who almost became a Canadian sports legend forever is headed to Queens. The Blue Jays infield now looks like this. So you got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first, Andres Jimenez at short, their new Japanese signing Kazuma Okamoto at third, and Ernie Clement likely at second. That's not a bad lineup, and they did get Okamoto at least, so that did kind of backfill for Bichette, but it's obviously not the same as Bichette. It's never going to be the same without Bo and Vladdy show, but at least the Jays will get a compensatory draft pick after the 4th round mound since Bichette declined their $22 million qualifying offer. So a small consolation prize for losing your franchise shortstop. Now let's flip to the Mets perspective, because what David Stearns just did is honestly a bit impressive, at least especially after the disastrous run of an offseason that they've been having. 24 hours ago, the Mets fan base was in full meltdown mode. They just watched Kyle Tucker choose the Dodgers' $240 million offer over their $220 million offer. That came after a brutal offseason where Pete Alonso left, Edwin Diaz went to the Dodgers, they traded Brandon Nimmo, which made no sense only if you got Kyle Tucker, and Jeff McNeil was shipped to Oakland. So 4 longtime Mets favorites all gone. Steve Cohen's checkbook couldn't keep them around. Stearns himself acknowledged the frustration at a recent Citi Field luncheon. He said, "I certainly understand that there have been points of this offseason that are frustrating to our fan base. I hear it, I recognize it, I hear it from my friends and family at times." Now, the Mets lineup with Bichette is not bad. I mean, you have Francisco Lindor, you got Juan Soto, Marcus Semien at second, although I'm not that high on him anymore, and now you have Bichette at third. That's right, third base. Bichette has never played a single professional inning at third base, but that is where the Mets are planning at putting him. And here's the thing, it might work. I mean, Bichette was one of the worst defensive shortstops in baseball last season, finishing with a negative 13 outs above average, tied for the second worst total in the majors. Third base requires less range, and while his arm strength is only in the 36th percentile, that is kind of comparable to Alex Bregman, who's considered a premier defensive third baseman right now. But the Mets didn't sign Bichette for his glove anyways, they signed him for the bat. Speaking of that, Bichette is projected to bat third behind Lindor and Soto, giving Soto the elite right-handed lineup protection he lost when Alonso left, which does round off a pretty good top 3 of the order. The cost to the Mets, though, isn't just the money. They're giving up their 2nd and 5th highest picks in the 2026 draft, plus $1 million from their international bonus pool because of the qualifying offer compensation. And with this signing, they've now surpassed the top competitive balance tax threshold of $304 million with a projected payroll of $345. Steve Cohen's pockets are deep, but this has got to be stretching him a bit. All right, so here's my personal take on this whole situation. For Bo Bichette, this is a brilliant move. I know some people are going to say he's crazy for turning down $200 million guaranteed, but look at the landscape of baseball right now. The guys who bet on themselves with short-term, high AAV deals with opt-outs are winning. Bregman did it, Alonso did it, now Bichette is doing it. If Bichette stays healthy and puts up numbers even close to what he did in the second half of 2025, where he slashed 381, 437, 591 over his last 238 plate appearances for a 187 WRC plus, he is going to opt out after 1 year and get a deal that makes the Phillies offer look like pennies. He's only 27, turned 28 in March. His best years are definitely still ahead of him. For Mets, this is a calculated risk that I think pays off no matter what way you look at it. I mean, if Bichette balls out and opts out, they got an elite bat for 1 year at a premium price that helped them compete. If he struggles or gets hurt, they've got the flexibility also with those opt-outs going both ways, so they're not locked into a long-term commitment. And if he's good but not great, they've got him for 3 years in the prime of his career alongside Soto and Lindor. That is a core that you can build upon. Now, the third base experiment is a bit of a wild card in this situation. I don't know how that's going to work, especially with his arm strength. We're talking about a guy who's never played that position ever, and now you're asking him to just learn it and do it in New York. But you know what? The Mets also have Jorge Polanco learning first base for the first time in their career, so this organization is just doing whatever right now. For the Blue Jays, this stings. There's no way around it. I mean, yes, you got Okamoto back, so that does kind of soften the blow, but you lost a franchise cornerstone 3 months after losing Game 7, right? But again, they did make moves. They got Okamoto. They've got a lot of pitching in the offseason as well, so I do think at the end of the day, the Blue Jays are a better team, even though they lost Bichette. But that's all I've got for today, guys. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this signing? Do you think Bichette should have chosen the Phillies, especially because they probably have a better chance at competing in the playoffs than the Mets? Or is it just all about the money and who cares about competition anymore? Because clearly these days, everyone is just taking the bag. Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one.